Hello, District 7750 Club leaders. Thank you for joining us today for this first ever virtual membership summit series. I had so wanted to have this event in person, but because of COVID, we are meeting virtually, and we are going to have a great membership series over the next 4 weeks with a bonus week thrown in for the 5th week. I'm Beth Paget. I'm your district governor for this year, and it is my honor to serve as district governor. And I appreciate everyone giving us an hour today for this first session of the Virtual Membership Summit series. A reminder, every session builds on the previous session, so it's important to attend all 4 weeks, and then the bonus week if you've got time. Every session will build on the other with more information gained throughout this entire series. Information designed to help us grow Rotary, to help us attract members, to help us keep members engaged, to help us retain the members that we already have. So thank you for joining us today for this membership summit, and I hope you find it helpful, and I look forward to visiting with you either on Mondays at 5 or Wednesdays at noon over the next 4 weeks. Rotary International President Holger Knock created his theme, like all international presidents do. He did this back in the first of the year, long before COVID had reared its head. Rotary opens opportunities. This was a relevant, important theme when I first heard it in January of this year. How much more relevant could a theme be than in this world of COVID that has disrupted life, let's be honest, disrupted life in our Rotary clubs. Rotary opens opportunities. It did when President Holger rolled out his theme in January. It still does today in August as our clubs are adapting to a new world where Rotary is not the same as it was before COVID. Rotary opens opportunities for service. It opens opportunities for fun and fellowship. And yes, it opens opportunities for us to attract new members and, of course, retain members. So let's keep that in mind this whole series. Those opportunities are still there. We may have to look a little harder to find them. They may not be quite as obvious, but those opportunities are there for us to grow Rotary. Today, we're going to talk about the roles, responsibilities, and expectations of club leaders. If you're on this call, you're a club leader. It may be because you're president, it may be because you're your club membership chair, or you're president-elect, or you're a director of your board, or just because you care so much about Rotary and your club that you want to learn more about membership. Whether your role is as official as being club president, or as unofficial as just being someone who cares deeply about your club, you are a club leader, so welcome to this series. So let's talk a little bit about what is leadership. It's been said leaders are visionaries with a poorly developed sense of fear and no concept of the odds against them. They make the impossible happen. Who said that? Robert Jorvik. He was the surgeon who successfully implanted the first artificial heart. He did not have a sense of fear, no concept of the odds against him. How much good has he done in the world because he made the impossible happen? Here's an observation that I'm going to share. Consistent, moderate membership growth is the single best key performance indicator of an effective, vibrant club. Consistent, moderate membership growth. That is a key performance indicator. Consistent, moderate membership growth shows that you are an effective, vibrant club. Likewise, chronic membership loss year after year, that's a red flag. It identifies a club that has some degree of dysfunction and a club that really needs to review what it's doing with membership and maybe even seek some external help, which is there. Let's talk about intentional versus accidental or passive strategies. What are intentional strategies? They are purposeful, they are deliberate, and they are conscious plans of action. They're purposeful, they're deliberate, and they're conscious plans of action or policies. And they are designed to achieve a major overall aim. With intentional strategies, you say, if we do this, it should result in that. Before I retired from my nonprofit job last week, we had a couple vacancies that we were trying to fill. And so we approached it with an intentional strategy. If we advertise here, if we make this contact, if we put the information out on this website, if we do this, it should result in that. If we execute this strategy well, it should bring us new members as Rotarians. Just as in a job search for a candidate will bring you more job candidates to choose from if you do that job search well. What are passive strategies on the other hand? This might work. Have you ever heard someone say that? Let's try this. It might work. That's a good sign that's not an intentional strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Terry Weaver has often credited me with saying this, but I've heard it said many times before and after I said it. I've caught myself as district governor saying a couple times, I hope we can do this, or I hope we can achieve this. Hope is not a strategy. A strategy is purposeful. It has meaning behind it. It is deliberate. So what's the club president's role? We have a lot of club presidents on here today. The club president is visionary. He or she looks and says, what is this club going to be like in 10 years, or 5 years, or 3 years? Okay, most presidents start here. What is this club going to be like at the end of my term as president? What will I be remembered for as president? I used to do some camping, even some backpacking in my younger days. You always wanted to leave the campground in better shape than you found it. And so the role of club president is to sit back and go, how can I leave this campground? How can I leave this Rotary Club in better shape than I found it? What's everyone else's role? Whether you're the club membership chair or president-elect or on the board, or you're just a very involved member. Your role is promoting, supporting, and executing that club vision through plans, through strategies, through activities and action items. The goal is stewardship. That's simply the act of serving and of making something better, stewardship. The club leader's role. You're on the front line of the Army fighting Rotary's biggest enemy. If we were having this session in person, we would let you guess what is Rotary's biggest enemy. Complacency. It's not another service organization. It's not your son's little league football team or your daughter's soccer club. It is complacency. It's thinking that we're okay right now, and so we're going to be okay tomorrow. I've added this. In this world, new world that we're in, the second biggest enemy is COVID-19. It makes it tougher, let's be honest, it makes it tougher to do what we as Rotarians do, but it doesn't make it impossible. And already, as I have visited about 8 Rotary clubs so far, I have visited clubs that are taking in new members. In fact, this morning at the Rotary Club of Lancaster breakfast, we inducted 2 new members. So the fear of COVID, or fearing that that it's not possible to continue what we're doing, that's our second biggest enemy now. So the club leader's role is to develop intentional strategies for success and measurable goals for those strategies. We need to help our membership chairs and our presidents set goals that are smart. Smart goals, that's what we're after. Goals that are specific, goals that are measurable, that are achievable, that are realistic and relevant, and that are time-based. Measurable. We want 5 new members in this club. Is that achievable? Look at what your club has historically been able to do. If 5 is realistic, go with 5 for your goal. If 25 is, that should be, but if you're a smaller club, it may not be realistic to say, we're going to bring in 25 new members. So make those goals achievable and realistic and time-based, meaning there is a plan for when you're going to do that. And that plan is not, we will do all our membership development in the months of May and June. That plan is time-based throughout this entire year. And there is a written membership plan. That is what we're after. That is what the guide will be. So the membership challenge that I have asked clubs to challenge themselves is that if your club is over 25 members, grow your club by 10 members or a net of 10%. If your club is below 25 members, grow it to 25. And if you're below 15 members, close that gap between where you are and 25 by half. An easier way to look at that, perhaps, when I'm speaking to clubs, I ask this of club leaders and of clubs in every one of the key indicators of a vibrant Rotary Club, whether it's membership, whether it's foundation, whether it's service projects, whether it's engagement. Do better than the status quo. In all these areas, including membership, do better than you did last year. At least have some gain in your clubs this year. We're going to watch a very, very brief video about Grow Into Your Goals from Darren Hardy.
To achieve what you have not, you must become what you are not. You have to grow into your goals. Look, if you're struggling to achieve your goals, it's because your goals are above your head. I'm sorry to say, but your goals are too big for you. You keep bludgeoning your head against the wall, but it's not going to help. The only way to achieve goals bigger than you've been able to achieve before is to become more than you've ever been before.
Get that? Grow into your goals. That's what Darren Hardy said in a very cute way. Grow into your goals. The only way to achieve goals bigger than you've been able to achieve before is to become more than you've ever been before. So keep that in mind as we work through the next 4 weeks of this membership series, and also, more importantly, as you work through this year as a club leader. Grow into your goals. It's now my privilege to introduce Carol Burdett, two-time past district governor, our district membership chair this year, and the assistant Rotary coordinator for Zone 33, who is going to talk to us today about the why of membership. Carol?
Governor Beth, and thank you for the opportunity to serve as our district membership chair. Today, I'm going to be talking about the why of membership. Most of you on the call are either membership chairs of your club, or you are the president or president-elect of your club. That means that you are a leader. Well, in my playbook, you lead by example. If you are asking others to sponsor new members, sponsor should be by your name too. Let's talk about an example of a club presentation on membership. But if you're going to use it, you must believe it and you must put it into action. So let's get started. You have been asked to make a presentation about membership, the why of membership to your club. Or maybe you're the president and you've decided you are the right person to make this presentation. So let's start out by letting them know how honored you are to be in the role that you have been chosen for in Rotary. Introduce your membership team or committee. You do have one, don't you? 4 or 5 members who are willing to go in and help you grow your Rotary Club. If you don't have that team, today is the day to take that step. This is not a one-man show. Next, talk about the fact that Rotary membership really matters. It is the highest priority, as you've heard Governor Beth say. And today I want you to check out something called the Club Health Check. You can download this. In fact, Terry will be sending that out in a Dropbox. Read it and use it for your club. This health check emphasizes the member experience. And the best member experience is member engagement. When members are engaged and excited, they are most likely to stay in Rotary. They are most likely to tell their Rotary story to others. So in your presentation, tell them your Rotary story. Mine goes something like this. I was a young professional, and when I was asked to visit the Rotary Club of Anderson, I walked in and I saw people in that room that without Rotary, I would have never had a chance or an opportunity to have lunch with. They were people I'd only seen their names and pictures in the newspaper. Now, some of those same people were on the interview panel when I was being interviewed for my job at United Way as CEO. Now, that's not the only reason that I got the job, but it sure helped. One day I was at Rotary and an engineer sat down beside me. He asked me if we could have breakfast. This engineer became the lead engineer in his firm for the town where I was mayor. Together, we brought in over $5 million for water and sewer projects. In Rotary, I have made lifelong friends, and I look forward to seeing them at the Rotary Club meetings, at district events, and at the international convention. Friends that when I'm sick, they check on me. Friends that want me to succeed. You see, when I was going to be district governor for the second time, I was way behind the eight ball. But it was Terry and Pam Weaver who spent countless hours with me, making sure that we, our district and our clubs, had a successful year. So now that we have that part down, it is important to challenge them. Because if a club isn't growing and bringing in new members, it is shrinking. In my notes, I have shrinking in all capital letters. Don't ever fall for that line that says our club is just the right size. Life happens. People die. People move. People get sick. The same with Rotarians. You'll hear more about numbers in this series of membership summit sessions, but you must be intentional about getting new members excited about their Rotary experience to go out and invite others to join them. You will hear and see during one of these segments about Discover Rotary. Even in the virtual world that we're in right now, it works. So use it for your club. Invite prospective members to join in service projects. You must engage your members in bringing prospects to community service projects. Community service is our product, and we need more hands and feet to get the job done. By the way, what is our motto? Yes, service above self. Is your community perfect? Yeah, I didn't think so. That means there is work to be done by Rotarians. Wearing Rotary shirts and Rotary hats and posting on social media. Oh, wearing our Rotary pins are so important every day so that others will ask us about this amazing organization we call our own. Be excited when you tell them about Rotary. Have your elevator speech ready. I would also recommend checking out and downloading Be a Vibrant Club. It will also be in the Dropbox. It tells you how you can attract more members, and especially younger members. talk about this in your presentation, that we must be flexible, creative, innovative, and remember that there are no Rotary police. Lastly, in your presentation, inspire. The why of Rotary is we need them. Doesn't everyone want to be needed and to feel there is a place for them? I brought this beautiful gift box because when I think of what came in this was a beautiful gift, but it's also a beautiful box. And I think about the gift that Carl Stone, my sponsor, gave me when he invited me to Rotary. It wasn't just Rotary. It's the unlimited amount of gifts that come from Rotary. Those gifts are friendships for life. And oftentimes the ability to travel places I would never have gone without Rotary. One of those is to Honduras. Yes, I went there when I was governor the first time, but it was year before last that I traveled with Al Steele and a group from our district. And on a Sunday afternoon, we'd been to a celebration about two villages that had come together, and we had helped them to build a big water tank. But after that, we went to a remote village. It was about 2 hours and literally in the middle of nowhere. It was there we met in a one-room schoolhouse. And let me tell you, it was packed full of the people that lived in that village. There were lots of discussions, but then it got my turn to have to ask them some tough questions. I had to ask them, have you found your source of clean water? Have you set up your water commissioning board? Have you raised the money for your engineering fees, which was sacrificial on their part? To all of those questions, they said yes. But then I said, how many of you are willing to help dig the trench to bring that water to your village? Every hand of men in that room was raised. They were ready. It was inspiring and it was emotional, but I looked at them and I said to those parents that day, their little children looking into my face, and said, because of the sacrifices you're making and the part that you're playing right now, your children will live longer and healthier lives. So what's your why for Rotary? As we transition to the end of my presentation, I want to talk to you about the 5 things that I wish all Rotarians knew and believed about Rotary membership. You see, nothing else really matters. Rotary is a membership organization and our product is service. If you get membership right, everything else during your year will take care of itself. If you don't get membership right, you will be struggling most of your year. So work on your membership committee, get it up and running, and get people excited about telling their Rotary story. Do not forget that attrition is real. As I said, there are things that happen to people, and about 15% of our members leave on an annual basis. We can do something about that. We can help them by helping to engage and ensure that they want to continue in Rotary, that retention is a long-term strategy. It will not grow your club, but if you have members who are engaged, you will retain them and your attrition will go down. Clubs need membership growth every year. It doesn't need to be dramatic, but we must build a culture of growth within our clubs. Bringing in a few members every year, that offsets the attrition that we will see each year. But it will only happen if you are intentional. You must have your intentional strategy set up. Don't do something like walk to the podium and say, I want everyone to bring a member, a prospective member next time. That is not being intentional. Remember, it takes about 10 prospects, 3 that will actually take you up on a proposal of coming, and then 1 will probably join. It's the 10-3-1 rule. Let's be intentional about bringing people into Rotary. It is the gift that will keep on giving. Thank you, and let's have an amazing Rotary year.
Thank you, Carol. This is Terry Weaver, your district trainer, past district governor, and I'd like to share some ideas with you today on how you can use the tools available to you as member retention tools and member retention strategies. The number one thing in member retention, of course, is engagement, and you have a ready-made free tool set to help you with this. Let's talk about some tools for member engagement. One of them, very important, is an e-bulletin or an e-newsletter. There's a slight difference, and I'll cover both of those. But what we need to be doing, folks, is we need to be communicating with our members, not just prospects to tell them what our Rotary clubs are doing, but also with our members to remind them of why they're part of Rotary. And the fact is, folks, that if we had members who were more sold on Rotary, they'd be a whole lot more likely to bring us prospects into our Discover Rotary and Rotary information hours. The second thing is capturing and tracking prospects. It is really, the only thing worse than not having prospects is losing track of them, because prospects are valuable. Third thing that is available in DACdb is a set of drip marketing tools. We'll talk about that as a concept and then exactly how that works. Now, I'm not going to walk through this screen by screen. This is not a DACdb training session. Just want you to know that you have the tool set at your feet to help engage your members more effectively using these e-tools, which in the moment of not meeting in person, that's pretty much all we have. Then finally, tracking engagement, actually paying attention to who's doing what and who's making a difference in your club. Let's talk first about club e-bulletins and e-newsletters. You have several options. DACdb has actually a bulletin builder tool in it. Now, this is a template-driven tool, and like any tool you may be unfamiliar with, it takes a little bit of experimenting to get used to it. But the other advantage of that, if your club happens to use a DACdb website, which along about half of the clubs in the district do, the same stories that roll up into your weekly or semi-monthly bulletin also roll up into your website. You write the story one time, it appears both places. Or another option is a relatively simple, shall we say, standard bulletin approach and deliver it as a PDF. Now, this is a nice looking bulletin from the Rotary Club of Anderson. It's one I just happened to come across. It's posted on their website. And it appears to me it's probably done in Microsoft Word, a very familiar tool and friendly for building this type of thing. It could be in some sort of e-publishing platform, a lot of desktop publishing platforms, doesn't matter. Something that you're familiar with or someone in your club is familiar with and comfortable with, that then you can convert this into a PDF file, post it on your website, send it out to your members as either an attachment or a link. Another option is an e-newsletter. My club, the Rotary Club of Greenville, uses this approach. We don't have a static bulletin like the one you saw from Anderson, but rather we send an e-newsletter. Here's what's happening in Rotary to our club each week. And it starts with this little table of contents up here at the top. And then if you scroll on down, there are multiple articles in the newsletter. There are always links, of course, to the next upcoming Discover Rotary sessions. And we recently did a food drive to benefit Alexandra Elementary School, the poorest school in Greenville County. Scroll on down beyond this, instructions on how and when to bring food by and drop it off. Let's then move on to the idea of capturing and tracking prospects. And my motto is don't squander your leads. The only thing worse than not having prospects for your Rotary Club is forgetting about them and losing track of them. And here's how important that is. We just had a Discover Rotary session this past Tuesday, a week ago, and we had one person on that session. It happened, though, that she was one person who had surfaced in a diversity event a whole year ago. So she's gotten at least 24 of these club e-newsletters along the way. We send them to our prospects as well as our members. The way to do that is to use the member type, but there are some member types in DACdb that are not really Rotarians, and these are some of those. Guest, friend of Rotary, potential member, proposed member. We actually have a member type in this district for media. If you have media contacts in your local market, names, email addresses, affiliations with whatever publication, you can track and capture those in DACdb. That way, the next PR chair doesn't have to go find those. They're right there already in the database. So what you do is start with add a member, just as if you were going to bring on a new Rotarian, only you choose instead potential member. That means that it's a local record only. It's visible to your club. It doesn't go to Rotary International, doesn't go even into the Rotary Leads database, but it's a way for you to keep track of the important things: first name, last name, email address, and mobile phone number. That makes them roll up into the potential members tab. Now that's a tab in DACdb that is also on the same page, the club members page, with the active and honorary members, and other member types other than potential members have their own tab, as do terminated members. If you want to do a campaign, perhaps to reach out and touch terminated members, you have those readily available. So you scroll up to the top of the potential members tab, and that's where your drip marketing strategy starts. Let's talk about drip marketing for a second. It is one of the least known features in DACdb because it's really just an extension of the personalized email or P-mail function. Let's talk about what drip marketing is first. I thought it might be nice to have a, shall we say, legitimate description of this, so I went to my personal favorite research source, that would be Wikipedia. And I learned that it is a communication strategy that sends or drips a pre-written set of messages to customers or prospects over time. And these messages sometimes take the form of email marketing, although you can use other things. I wouldn't recommend other things. Frankly, anything that has a stamp involved is probably not going to work. So e-marketing is sincerely your best strategy for reaching your potential members as well as your existing members. What kind of messages? Well, in Rotary, these would be messages like your e-newsletter or e-bulletin. You put the e-bulletin or an e-newsletter together for your members, but then you simply repurpose it and resend it to that group of people on the potential members tab. It would include news releases or event announcements, anything that you release that you're trying to get into the paper, or links to social media posts. Anything you're doing in terms of major projects or major fundraisers, project work days, service projects. One strategy that works is inviting potential members to a service project to not only see hands-on what Rotary does, but also to bring you some potential members. And remember, always on a service project day, have a sign-up sheet, because you want to track not only who your members are that participated in that, but you also want to get names, phone numbers, and email addresses for those potential members. So what audiences would we be sending them to? In Rotary, our members, I believe, are our #1 audience. In this time of engagement, in this time of limited personal contact, the #1 thing to do is keep in touch with your members. I believe they're your #1 drip marketing audience. #2, a close second, would be the prospective or potential members. Those people that know something about Rotary, they know somebody in Rotary, it just hasn't been the right time or place for them yet. And you know, I rarely, when I talk to somebody about Rotary, I hardly ever get a no. I hear a lot of not nows. And this not now thing, that's where drip marketing comes in. I'll tell you about an experience I had in my own business where I learned to do this 5-10 years ago. And that was, I was marketing a membership organization very much like Rotary for business owners, but I was marketing it in communities where I didn't live, like between Chicago and Florida, where I didn't have anybody on the ground, and my only reach into those prospects' offices was promotional email. So I had a little e-newsletter for business owners that just tips and tricks on how to improve your business. I sent that out once a month to about 40,000 prospects. And sure enough, within 24 to 36 hours after I sent that, something always happened. One day I got a 2-line email from a member that turned out to be in Chicago. I'm sorry, a prospect turned out to be in Chicago. And all he said was, "I guess it's time for me to do something about this," and then signed it. I thought, well, that sounds like a buying sign to me. So I looked back in my prospect tracking, my CRM, and realized that I had spoken to him 18 months before. Now, of course, it was just a voice and a name on the phone, so his name coming back in this email didn't mean anything to me at all. I looked him up, and sure enough, he had gotten 17 of these monthly newsletters, and he finally said, it's time for me to do something. This stuff really does work. Proposed members, of course, are another step up. That's somebody who has come through the new member, potential member pipeline. We've had them perhaps to a membership event, a Discover Rotary event, something like that. And they've said, yeah, I'd like to join. They've put in a new member proposal through their sponsor. So they're in the process of being approved and vetted by the board. At that point, we elevate them to proposed members. And you could have a different, slightly tuned marketing drip that you kept proposed members warm for the 6 or 8 weeks that they might go through that new member vetting process. And then we invoice them and we wait until we get the check before they become members. Friends of Rotary, just in the community. Maybe they aren't potential members, but it wouldn't hurt once a quarter. We have a group in our DACdb, in my database in my club. We call them Top Guns. These are community leaders. These are community leaders that may or may not have ever expressed an interest in Rotary. We send them something about once a month just to remind them what the Rotary Club of Greenville is up to. Guests at past meetings, of course. I mean, this is just a golden opportunity. And the important point there again, folks, is tracking. Whenever you have a guest at a meeting, you want them to sign in. We use a little sign-in card. We ask them for their name, we ask them for their email address, and for their mobile phone number. We do have a little checkbox at the bottom said, would you have an interest in more information about Greenville Rotary? And finally, media contacts. Again, you can include them in your marketing drip. You never know when one of them might resonate with something you're doing. Call up and perhaps you get some news coverage out of it. So what vehicle would you use to do this? Now, you could do this through Outlook or through Google or Gmail or any personal email. It'd be kind of difficult to do. You'd have a lot of maintenance to do, and you'd have to know somehow when somebody's email address changed. You could also do the same thing through generic email engines such as MailChimp or Vertical Response or Constant Contact. There are a lot of them. Or you could use something you already have at your fingertips, which is DACdb PMail. PMail stands for personalized mail, meaning just like the invitation for this event, you got a personalized email that said, "Dear Jack, please look forward to our upcoming membership summit." Same thing is true of those prospects and those potential members. They would get a personalized email from your club just exactly the same way. So how do we do that? Well, we start from the potential member tab. We click PMail all, just as if we were emailing all our club members, but now we're just talking about potential members. And then we click over to the template that we've already built for either the E-Bulletin or the e-newsletter, whatever is the current material for this particular drip. And click send. That's how hard it is. So this is a tool that you can easily use. I guarantee you, if you gather up and capture potential member contact information, specifically emails, and then just take what you're doing already or should be, which is an e-bulletin or e-newsletter for the benefit of your members, and then drip that out to this prospect base, it will get you members over time. Finally, I want to talk about tracking member engagement. Member engagement itself is your number one member retention strategy. Members who are invested in something are not going to leave. It is also the lack of member engagement is your number one key performance indicator, your number one early warning metric of somebody who's probably got one foot out the door and probably the other foot right behind it. And the next trigger for that will be the next dues invoice that they get. It is a potential PI/PR opportunity. And it also rolls up into the Rotary citation. Member engagement, the involvement of members in service projects, is also part of the Rotary citation. And finally, something I learned in business over decades is you cannot manage something that you don't measure. If you're not paying attention to it as a metric, there is no way you can improve it or find out whether it is improving or not. So the tool for this is the engagement module in DACdb. It is a premium module. You do have to pay for it, but it is simply an upgrade from a module that 70% of you already have, which is the attendance module. And I describe DACdb engagement as attendance on steroids. This takes attendance to another level. And why would I say that? Okay, follow me here. When we're tracking attendance, let's say your club meets 4 times in a month. When you're tracking attendance and somebody misses one meeting, the only club committee meeting or the only service project or the only anything that somebody does that you're going to catch is the one required to fill that makeup spot. All the rest kind of gets spilled on the floor. The DACdb engagement module, on the other hand, it actually tracks every activity that a member is involved in the club. So if someone was in your club, meets 4 times a month, they made 3 meetings and they did 3 activities outside Rotary, they'd have the equivalent of 100%, 150% engagement. Instead of 4 activities a month relating to Rotary, which is sort of the 100%, if you will, they actually did a couple more, and you can tell who the players are. So it also rolls up the volunteer hours, and it also rolls up the funding. Why is that important? Well, at the end of the year, about 15th of June, you'll want to go into My Rotary, and you'll want to enter all that information for the Rotary citation. How are you going to figure that out? You could use cocktail napkins, you could use spreadsheets, you could do a lot of other things, or you could roll it up in the DACdb engagement module, open that up in one click, and for each of your projects that you have entered in the engagement module, it has rolled up the volunteer hours and the funding that have accumulated over all 52 weeks of the year. Really priceless, and again, 70% of your clubs already have the attendance module. You're already paying for that. It's a moderate fee each year, and you can simply upgrade that for free to the DACdb engagement module. We did in your handout include the last page of your handout is a flyer on the DACdb engagement module. You can actually turn this on yourself in DACdb, or of course, you can contact DACdb support for help with that. Thank you, and I will turn it back.
Thank you, Terry. I want to know, first of all, it is very possible to attract new members in this day of COVID. I was on the Lancaster Breakfast Rotary Club this morning and inducted 2 new members. I was with Sean Bell and his club in Fountain Inn. Earlier this week, there were 2 new members who had just been inducted the week before, and there were 3 prospective members sitting in the room, and I hope that they came away interested in Rotary and interested in becoming a Rotarian. One of the things that COVID has made so tough on Rotary clubs is that it's hard. We have found it hard to do our service projects. Rotarians are people of action. They're people who like to do work, and COVID has brought to a stop a lot of our service projects. But many clubs have found ways to have compelling COVID-compatible service projects. And we're about to have a group discussion led by several of our Rotarians who are in clubs that are already doing great work. But first, I want to share with you a quote from Rotary International President Holger Knock that I have found very meaningful and that I like to share with clubs and with Rotarians. And that is the idea that Rotary is not just a club. It is just not a club for people to join, but it's an opportunity, it's an invitation to endless opportunities, an invitation for us to do service projects big and small. And through those service projects, we open doors, we open opportunities for someone, somewhere. You don't get any bigger in terms of a service project than what we do with polio. But the smaller service projects that we do in our own communities are so important. They're so important for that magic word that you've heard both Terry and Carol say, for engagement. I contend that a lot of our genuine fun and fellowship also takes place when we are working together side by side, doing something in our community. So we have several Rotarians who are going to share some COVID compatible, compelling COVID service projects with us. And I cut one off at the session on Monday. So if Reggie Lowry has joined us, I want Reggie to jump on also. But we have Cara Hamilton in Anderson. We have Renee Stubbs in Newberry. We have Ellen Priest in Aiken. And we have Jane Dyer and maybe Ramona Farrell. I don't know which one of you want to talk, or maybe both, about something that the Rotary Club of Greenville is doing. And if we have time, we'll let other people join us also. But let's hear about some of these compelling COVID service projects. Ellen, you want to kick us off? Unmute yourself.
Yeah, what we have done since we started was, since we stopped meeting in March, is turn our meal money into money for the Salvation Army, because they're serving so many more clients during this time. And so all of the money that is paid, we continue to bill for the meals. It's not required that members pay for it, but about 75% or more of our members are still paying for their meals during this time. Which is a pretty significant amount of money. And all of that money goes to the venue that we were using, which is really the only venue in Aiken that is able to host a club our size, because we have over 180 members. So we certainly don't want them to go out of business, because we wouldn't have anywhere to meet. So it goes to them. They turned it into meals that go to the Salvation Army. And so they are able to serve a lot more clients than they were able to serve. And they have told me that having that one day a week that they don't have to worry about a lunch for 100 and some odd people is just a real blessing to them. So that's how we've given back. Some of our club members go in and even help serve the meals at times.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Cara, can you unmute yourself and share with us a few minutes?
Sure. So what our club did recently is we did a back to school drive-through event, and it was at the Anderson Mall. And so what we did, it was outside, it was along the walkway, and we set up, well, we didn't, but the event organizers set up tents, and different organizations, including our Rotary Club, manned each tent. And then the cars would drive through with these children in it. And at the first stop, they would get, say, a book bag. At the next stop, a book marker. When they stopped through the Rotary tent, we gave them a book, an age-appropriate book to put in their book bag. And that's kind of, our club is really strong into literacy. So that kind of complements our literacy goal. But anyway, and there was probably 10 different tents. But anyway, it was something we could do. We were outside. We were appropriately masked. We just would put something in the car, and it was a great event. I think over 600 cars drove through that day. So that's something that we did.
Okay, great. Jane or Ramona, I don't know which one of you want to speak, or maybe both of you.
Sure, this is Jane. I'll be glad to tell a little bit about what we've been doing. Alexander Elementary School is the lowest per capita income of any school in Greenville County. So we adopted them about 2 years ago. And last week we had a blood drive that, not a blood drive, I'm sorry. We had a food drive, and it was a drive-by food drive, and Rotarians came by and gave us some canned goods. So we had overall about 750 pounds of food, about worth $1,150, and we took it to the food pantry that services their area. And we also talked to the principal of the school, because we try to do several ongoing projects through the year. And of course, she didn't even know yet for sure how their school is going to be structured. So the things that we talked about is we got a district grant for the school to do a kindness project through the whole year with the school. So the first year, the first couple weeks, the principal is hoping to get a bus and go around and visit all the homes of her students and put a yard sign about a kindness student lives here, and have Rotarians to go along and be a part of that. Our Happy Feet project, we're hoping to be able to arrange that so the Rotarians would be outside the store and the parents would actually take the student in this year to get their new shoes, and we would still be able to pay for those, but we would be outside and just cheering them on when they come out and show us their new shoes. And the other thing that we came up with is we've been doing Read to Me for years at this school and others, but at this school, the principal is going to work with us to possibly do have Rotarians volunteer to do the good night stories to the students that they tape and broadcast. So we're trying, like everybody, to figure out how can we keep doing what we're doing and to do it in the world that we're living in. And I don't know if Ramona is there and wants to say something too.
Okay. I just got a chat message from Renee that poor thing, she's at the beach, but she is having a bad internet connection. And so she's listening, but she doesn't think she's going to be able to speak. I hate to put somebody on the spot, but does someone from Newberry want to share? I see Beverly's on here. Does anyone from Newberry want to share what you're doing? If you do, just unmute yourself and share about some of your service projects.
This is Beverly from Newberry.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I think what probably Renee was going to share is that we have been continuing with the food money for our club and have been keeping that in a fund to help support the local food banks. We have been very successful with working with the area food banks in Newberry County to help them in times of need at this point. Now we are looking at another project that would be a larger project that we could combine the money for, but we felt that that was a good way that we could support the County of Newberry.
Okay, thank you so much, especially without knowing I was going to call on you. So now if Reggie has joined us, I'm going to let him also have a couple comments, but I think we're ready to open up the entire meeting. Always a little dangerous, don't talk over each other, but if anyone else has anything to share, or if you have any questions of those who have already started some successful projects, we'll just open it up for some quick comments about things to do. Again, I think our service projects are so important because what we do, anything we do opens up opportunities for someone somewhere, not only to learn about Rotary, but also to become engaged, and also the great work we do in our community. So does anyone have anything they want to add? We still got a few minutes. So food drives. That's probably the #1 way that Rotarians have been able to adapt very quickly to COVID. Food banks need help, and so food drives. An idea I got from a club in another district was diaper drives, sort of the same principle. Park cleanup. I know my own club is going to try that, and I've heard of a couple other clubs. I think Frank Cox, I think your Rotary Club has done something along with some type of cleanup. School backpacks, school tools, mentoring a student. That can be done virtually. You will have to work with more than likely work with your school district, but it's possible to mentor a student. Do something for first responders, anything. Plant trees. Remember what Holger Canuck said. We do things as big as polio, and we do things as small as planting a tree in our community. And then another idea is just if you're out of ideas, you don't have anything to do, or you won't have Rotarians who want to do more, contact a local nonprofit for ideas. That helps us help other people in our community, but it does more. One of the strategic goals of Rotary is to increase our reach, and we increase our reach by working as partners with other organizations that can use our help and that we have an ability to do more good in our communities by engaging with other partners. And so turn to a nonprofit in your community, go to your United Way, go to a church and say, we have Rotarians who want to help, we have Rotarians who want to serve, give us some ideas. So with that, we've still got a few minutes. If anyone has been able to figure out how to unmute and you have something to share, we'll be glad to listen to a couple more ideas.
Hello, Beth.
Yes.
Hello, Beth. Hi, this is Teresa.
Hello, Alteresa.
I'm on. Hello, I'm on the phone, so my picture's not up, and I have a new phone. But
Okay.
kind of a couple of things that I think I heard a little bit of that we're doing in the Lancaster Lunch Club. One is the assisting with some of the service organizations in our community that are providing food for families going out to help volunteer on those days. But also, I'm getting ready to go over and we're going to be doing a Rotary Read to Me online, but we're calling it the Rotary Story Time.
Mm-hmm.
And going to be going over to the library and recording me reading books. And then we're going to upload those to be able to expand our public image and expand the knowledge of our Rotary clubs and what we're doing in the community. We're going to be uploading those on our social media so that children or parents who may need something else for their children while they're home or that reading time will be able to log on and be able to look at it. And we're also asking other members of our clubs also if they would also record themselves reading some books, and we're going to be uploading those as well.
Excellent idea. Thank you so much, Alteresa, for sharing that.
Thank you.
COVID has hurt the ability to go into schools and read or go into child development centers. Recording a Rotarian reading is a wonderful idea. And so thank you for sharing. I know some clubs in other districts have started that. I didn't know your club was, but that is great. So thank you for sharing. We've still got another minute or two. Another idea anybody wants to share?
Beth, this is Faith. As a librarian, if anyone wants to talk to their local library, we're all doing videoing, so they might want to get more videos done or of reading done and share it with their library.
So if you couldn't hear, that was Faith, our district administrator, who is over the libraries in Anderson County. She says her system is doing video recording, so probably some other library systems are either in other counties. So that'd be a way to record yourself reading if you're interested in that. If I don't hear anybody else, I'll close out by saying thank you so much for joining us. You've given us an hour of your time this week. I asked for at least 3 more hours over the next 3 weeks. Again, this series builds one on the other. And then the 5th week is going to be a bonus week. Hope you can still drop by on that also. It's going to elevate our approach to membership development, attraction, and recruitment. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Faith. But most importantly, thank everybody who's been on this call. Membership is the responsibility of all of us, especially those of us who are club leaders. And as I said before, if you're on this call, you're a club leader, even if you don't have an official title, because you care about Rotary and you care about membership. So thank you so much. I appreciate your coming today, and we'll see you next week, either Monday at 5 or again here to Wednesday at noon. Thank you. Goodbye.